Hello and welcome back to Tom's Datsun Garage. It's been about 4 months since my last real video, closer to 5 probably, but I've got a pretty big update to share with everybody finally. As you remember from my last video on Project Z, I had ordered my wheels, which were going to take about 6 months to get. And then right after that, I put in the order for my suspension and all of that, as far as like my coilovers and cross member and steering rack. Well, you'll see. But I had to put in all the order for that stuff, and because I asked for custom colors on the suspension stuff, it was going to add time to the order. So that stuff has finally all arrived, and I'm about to show everybody what I got in on my order, including my wheels. I also posed this question at the end of my last video: what wheel do you think I'll be putting on my car? And the answer was, nobody answered. Nobody even speculated or commented. So, I'm going to show you anyway. Let's talk about what happened about 2 months ago. About 2 months ago, I hadn't gotten my wheels or my suspension or anything yet. All that stuff was on order, and I tried to order the brakes that I wanted for this car. Turns out they're currently discontinued. So I won't be able to order the brakes I want for a while yet. The company is working with another brake company to develop another kit for this car that is in line with the one that was discontinued, maybe even a little better by the time it's all said and done. Good things are worth waiting for. This car's a long ways away from being on the road anyway. So to make this car a roller, I'm not going to need those brakes. So I'll be waiting for those to come out before I put in my order for those. Another thing that happened a couple months ago was my water heater decided to blow its top. And one of the pipes rusted through, and it shot hot water all over the place. And if you've seen in past videos, my water heater is behind my 240Z, which does not have any glass in it. So you can imagine where all that water went. You know that inside my car I'm storing all of the other parts, like the dash, the door cards, and the dog leg cards that go behind that. You know, the sensitive wooden stuff. It's got like a press board backing that doesn't do well with water. Yeah, some of that got wet. So I dealt with that. The back of the car didn't get as much water through it as it could have. A credit to this cover. I didn't realize that it was going to be as waterproof as it actually is. And it let some water through, but the back of the car was actually starting to fill up with water right in the area where the back glass goes in the hatch. So you'll see, I'll show you the pictures I took of that. I'll put them up here on the screen so you can see that. And because it burst and blew all kinds of mess everywhere, I'm talking silt, sand, whatever's in the lines through our city water here, came out of the water heater and went all on the back of the Z, all down through the spare tire well, dripped down on top of the parts underneath the car that were in cardboard boxes that soaked up the water. It made a mess. So I had to clean that up. And my wife helped with that too. But basically all the cardboard boxes were ruined. We had to drag everything out of the garage, dry everything out, and then I had to clean up all the mess. My mom very graciously donated a bunch of storage bins that she had because she purged a bunch of decorations and stuff over the years, and she saved the storage bins. So she donated those to the cause. I was able to put all of those parts into those new storage bins in a way that makes a lot more sense. For instance, I've got all the electrical system of the car and its electronic stuff like the radio and so forth all in one bin. Then I've got one for just trim and interior stuff, so forth. So that wound up working out really well. So between dealing with that mess, regular life, and waiting on my shipment of parts to show up, it's been a relatively uneventful as far as working on this car last few months. There's nothing really to tell. The short videos that I uploaded of getting the spindle pins pressed out of the rear knuckles for the suspension. Once I did that, I got the housings, all the strut housings broken down, all the parts off of them, cleaned them up really good. I got them, so I had the insides soaking in evapo rust. Any surface rust or anything was removed from them. I marked the housings so that I knew that I would get my same housings back, because these housings only have 68,000 original miles on them. Pressed out the stub axles and so forth and got the bearings and stuff out of the rear knuckles. Boxed everything up and sent it out to California to have the coilover conversions done on them. Of course, I ordered all the other parts that I wanted from the same company and had everything custom colored the way I want it, basically trying to emulate the factory colors as much as possible underneath the car. There were a few items that showed up, 2 items that showed up, not exactly the color I want them in, but I will be addressing that, and I'll show you those here in just a minute. But the wheels turned out spectacular, and the rest of the parts turned out exactly how I wanted them. So that's at least good. I'm going to go ahead and go over all of this. I have them all off camera right here in front of me laid out. I'm going to show you all the good stuff here. I'm going to take you off the stand, walk you around everything, tell you where I'm at right now with the process before I get this car off of the stand and have these parts installed underneath of them. So let's get into it. All right, let's have a look at the goodies. Ta-da! Some of you may or may not even know what you're looking at, but I'm going to explain it to you guys. Let's start up at the front. Let's start with the wheels. These wheels are a 16x8 zero offset Watanabe Type R wheel. They're spec'd with the gunmetal centers and the polished lip. And the polished lip option is what took so long to get the wheels here. And of course, I ordered their lug nuts, their locking lug, and the center caps as well. And they came with these really cool little valve stem caps that also have the Swan logo in it. Very neat. And those wheels will bolt to these hubs. These are aluminum Techno-Toy tuning front hubs. They have O-ringed end caps on them, and the rotors will bolt right to the back of this. And then these will attach to my original front spindles, albeit modified. So full Techno-Toy tuning coilover conversion with Swift springs. Those will bolt to these parts here, the steering knuckle that is adjustable, as well as the Acumen adjustment pieces. That also helps with bump steer on lowered cars. Full adjustable lower control arms, Techno-Toy tuning also. All of these parts are from them. I'm not sponsored by them by any means, but it's worth mentioning this is the company I went with. Those will attach to this. This is the front cross member that the lower control arms attach to, but also your engine mounts and stands will bolt to. And I got those as well. These are lighter and stronger than the factory pieces, so I ordered those. I got their updated modernized steering rack along with the aluminum retaining caps and polyurethane mounting bushings. Their sway bar, their aluminum sway bar retainers, as well as their adjustable tension control rods. Moving on back, we've got a all aluminum steering coupler. This replaces the factory rubber piece, although I've already replaced mine with a polyurethane piece, which I may keep my polyurethane piece. I'm not entirely sure yet on that. Moving a little bit back further, the strut tower brace. This is a triangulated strut tower brace. This will go right around where the hood latch is and stiffen up the top part of the firewall and the strut towers. Now let's move back further. I've got their full rear suspension setup along with their R200 long nose R200 diff mount setup, all in the aluminum pieces. I also got their CV axle conversion kit to get rid of the half shafts, and these are the one piece that came in gray, not the black I wanted them in, and I didn't realize that until after I took them out of the package. When I first opened the package, they looked kind of black in the lighting, but they're not. So I will be rectifying the color of this before they go in the car. You'll notice I have an R200 differential right here. This actually came with the parts car. So good score on that. Although the gearing in it is not very great, I am going to be replacing the gearing with a 390 ring gear, a Torsen limited slip differential, and then I'm going to be having this all painted in black as well to emulate the original appearance of the R180 differential that came in the car from the factory. Moving further outboard in the rear, let's check out what the axles will be bolting to. These are single piece machined rear stub axles. And these replace the factory ones, which in some cases have broken on people on the track. And that's because they're a welded two-piece design, if I'm not mistaken. These are not. These are single piece. So it's still the factory lug pattern because I'm running 4 lug just like the factory had. But these are a stronger piece. And the color on these is going to be painted black as well. And I'll show you that in a little bit more detail in just a few minutes. Moving further out yet, the rear knuckles, which these will be going through, and I'm not going to be putting the backing plates on because the backing plates are for drum brakes, and I'll be putting rear disc brakes on this car. Moving further under the car, we've got adjustable lower control arms. This will allow me to set the rear end up exactly where I want it. The differential is going to be held up by this aluminum mustache bar, and these pieces here will help with that. These are the mounts that will go to the underside of the car to mount the back of the differential up. And then moving back a little further still, we've got these power brace pieces that will connect to the serrations in here. This will tie this whole setup front to rear around these bushings to stiffen them up for less flex. Rear sway bar with the aluminum retaining caps, upgraded aluminum retaining caps here as well, and the dog bone mount is aluminum also. All this is aluminum pieces. These are steel. So I've got all that in, finally, and the hardware that holds it all together. Now these pieces, because of their different design, had to have different types of hardware to hold it to the car than factory, because you can't exactly stick a regular bolt head in something where it's going to have like a recessed piece. So it requires like a Allen headed bolt to fit in there. So they did supply the hardware. And I know I talk about this a lot and harp on the hardware stuff all the time. I'm sick of it myself. Very little of the hardware that came with all of this came in the color that it needs to be. It was the one thing they couldn't control. They could control the color of the aluminum anodizing, and they can control the color of the powder coating, but they could not control, and also, it's worth noting, they also couldn't control the color of the urethane bushings that came with everything. Normally they come with red bushings, but they also make them in black. They got me the black bushings like I asked, so they match like a factory appearance. But the hardware is a different story. Let's talk about hardware. I know you're all excited to hear about that some more. Shockingly few pieces that came with the hardware are the colors that I need them to be. These are the sleeves and the washers for the mustache bar mounting. And these are the two new retaining nuts for the rear stub axles. All of these are in zinc yellow, which is correct. Most of the hardware on this car is zinc yellow from the factory. Now, although they came with really nice things, their hardware is actually pretty darn nice. I'm not going to be able to use some of my factory hardware, and I'm going to have to use their specialty hardware that came with the kits, because I'm not going to be able to fit factory bolts in because of the design change of some of their modernized parts. Because of that, a lot of these are going to have to be replated. I know. They're going to have to be replated yellow so that they look factory under the car. Despite being a different design, they're going to be at least the factory color. So if I have to use a different design, so be it. It's just going to have to be the correct color so that it doesn't stand out as much. And some of this hardware is stainless steel. And the stainless steel hardware is not easily replatable, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave the stainless steel alone. So I will just run the stainless steel ones as they are. It's not a deal breaker, but it's not exactly how I would want it. Ideally, everything would be the factory color, but I'm not really fussed about it too much. I'm okay with it being stainless. Some stainless under the car, you're not really going to notice it. And this is all original to my 240Z. These parts were in the shed and came out of the struts when I was breaking them down. So a lot of this hardware here like holds in the rear CV axles, and these held on the front backing plates. So these parts here, these are the original dust caps that I adjusted with a hammer so that they were flatter and would fit underneath the center caps that were running on my Koenig rewind wheels that were on the car right up until where I took it apart. These hardware bits have already been cleaned and processed and are ready to go out for plating. So my next step is going to be sending all this hardware, not them, and this, and we'll be taking these two. All of this is going to go up to the plater and get changed over to the yellow zinc color that I want them. I know it's a bit overkill and it's going to add some time to the build, but I really feel it's going to add that extra special touch because this build is all about details. Speaking of details, you'll notice that some of the parts that had come are also plated in zinc clear. These are stainless. These are brand new spindle pins. The stainless parts are going to remain stainless, but the clear zinc pieces are going to get redone to zinc yellow. So yes, I am going to be taking these apart and having them done in zinc yellow. Every bit that I can do, I'm going to do. And whatever I can't will probably just be stainless, and that'll be it. And I'll have to be okay with that. Now, let's talk about, now that we're finally done talking about hardware and the color of the hardware, let's talk about the other things that I need to make happen before I can put all of this underneath my 240Z. When I was speccing out my coilovers, I did not want to do the flat aluminum strut tops. And the reason why is because I wanted to use the factory style strut mounts that came on the car originally, because they have rubber insulators in them. And this will help keep some of the harshness out of the inside of the car. It's not an all-out track car, so some NVH control is necessary, because I do plan on driving this car quite a bit. The issue I came across was the center bores, where the original strut tops went through, are larger in diameter. So what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to drill out the center to match the diameter of these, so that I can put these on and run them. I do have the factory nuts and washers for these, and this is the rear example, by the way. So this will just go up through the strut tower, and the cap will go over this like normal, and you won't be able to see the adjustment screw for the rear new rear struts, the rear shocks or dampeners or whatever you want to call them. But this is adjustable, so I'll be able to adjust the preload, the ride height, and the dampening, all to my tastes. Once I get these to where I know I can use these with these, that's going to be for me to work out, but I'm also going to source brand new ones because I want fresh new rubber, because it's more soft and compliant than the original stuff that is 50 odd years old. Even though it's in excellent shape and still a little squishy, it's still over 50 years old, and I just want to put new ones in there. Let's talk about the front ones now. All right, now up here at the front, we've got a similar situation. I want to reuse the original style strut mounts. However, the front ones have a bearing for steering purposes so that the front can turn. And I haven't figured out yet what I need to do to make this setup work without the factory top here. So I'm going to see what I need to make this work with this, with the bearing. And then once I, again, bore that hole out to match the diameter, once everything's in the car, the only thing you'll see is the 3 factory nuts and washers, and then sticking up through the top will be the adjustment here. And I might even put the little black caps over it like they had at the factory, the little black caps that went over that. And I might do the same thing, but they'll be sticking up through here. So I got to work that out before I can bolt these in the car. And lastly, I'm going to have to order brand new rear outer and inner wheel bearings and grease seals. I will be able to reuse this sleeve right here, so that's not a big deal. But I am not going to be able to reuse these bearings. So I'm going to have to source these parts, as well as source the new strut tops, the strut mount tops. And then I'll be able to get all of this bolted into the rear hubs on the knuckles there. So that's going to be required before I can put those up in the car. So that's going to be next. And then after I have the new bearings and seals, of course I'm going to paint these flanges so that they match the original finish. I really hope you all enjoyed this update. It's not as often and as frequent as I would like it to be. Ideally, I'd be working on this car 24/7, and I would have had it done a long time ago, and you guys would have a boatload of cool videos of installing all of this stuff, how to, the ins, the outs, so forth. So I'm only working with the time I have available, unfortunately. That, and I had to wait for everything to show up. So now that I've gone over everything that's here and my next steps, by the time I make my next video, I'm going to be taking this car off of the stand, putting it on jack stands right here in the middle of the floor, and getting these pieces bolted in. I also aim to order tires for this car. I already know the size I need, and I already have the brand and everything picked out. So I'll order the tires once I have the rear wheel bearings and grease seals and the strut mounts figured out, and the hardware back, of course, because once the hardware comes back, I should have my other parts here that I need, and then I can get it all together underneath the car, hopefully within a weekend. I don't believe it would take more than a day once I have the car on the stands and the parts ready to go. So that's my latest update. I have gained a few new subscribers since we've last interacted, so I do appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. If you feel the need to leave a comment, please do so down below. If you have any questions, please ask. No, I'm not sponsored. All of these parts were paid for by my hard work and my wallet. So I'm not sponsored by any of these companies whatsoever, but that's what I chose to put in the car, so I figured I would pass along my information to anybody else that might be trying to do a build like this. So I will see you on a new video, hopefully before the end of the year, because I still have the plan to make this car a roller before the end of the year, and I don't need the brakes to do that. So I will see you all on the next video. Thanks for watching.